Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tip. My name is Julian, and today we're going to be talking about players that you can drop from your team for week 4 of the fantasy season. Before we get started, guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I would really appreciate the support. Without further ado, let's talk about some forwards that you can drop from your team. First on the list, guys, is Victor Arvidsson, Nashville Predators, 64% owned, and he hasn't been doing very well lately at all. His stats overall don't look that bad, 7 points in 13 games, but lately he's just been really bad, and he's not playing on that top power play anymore, so I don't really love Arvidsson right now. If you're in a super deep league, I would hold on to Victor Arvidsson because he should rebound at some point, but right now he's not even getting top power play time, so if you're in a shallower league, there's no reason at all to hang on to him. Next is Riley Smith, Vegas Golden Knights, 51% owned, and he has a couple points in his last couple games, so you could ride the streak as long as it lasts. But he's definitely a guy who's droppable if you see someone better on the waiver wire, because Riley Smith is going to get you points, but he doesn't get you a whole lot of peripherals. He'll get you points sometimes, but he's not even top power play, so you don't absolutely have to hold on to him if you see someone better on that waiver wire. Next is Andrei Burakovsky, Colorado Avalanche, 48% owned. And he was going to be on that top line at the beginning of the season, but he was taken off really quickly. So unfortunately, he doesn't have as much value as a lot of people may have thought going into it. And he's not top power play either. So his value is pretty limited. Now, if you're in a deeper league, Burakovsky is definitely someone you should be keeping because he should still do decently. But if you're in a shallower league, there's no reason at all to keep Burakovsky on your team right now. Next is Kyle Palmieri, New Jersey Devils, 47%. And at this point, we don't even know if New Jersey is going to play another game ever. I'm kidding, of course, but honestly, Palmieri hasn't been that good this year, and there's no reason to hold on to him at this point. Next is Alexis Lafreniere, New York Rangers, 42% owned. And Friday, when this video goes live, is the last off night the Rangers have this week, so there's no point holding on to Lafreniere anymore. Clearly, this isn't working for him this year, and it probably will take him till next year to really become that breakout stud that we all know he can be. Next is Tyler Mott, Vancouver Canucks, 36% owned, and a lot of people picked him up because he was hitting a lot, and he was actually scoring some goals, but he's a fourth liner, and now he's injured, so there's really no reason to keep him on your team anymore. Next is Brock Nelson, New York Islanders, 32% owned, and he's only got 4 points through 11 games this year and hasn't looked so good. Brock Nelson's a pretty easy drop right now because he's not getting that top power play time, and he's not playing with that good of players. Next is Adam Lowry, Winnipeg Jets, 24% owned, and with Pierre-Luc Dubois joining the team, Lowry is now their fourth line center. Yeah, he shouldn't be 24% owned. Next is Ricard Raquel, Anaheim Ducks, 24% owned, and yeah, the Ducks really suck this year. You shouldn't own a single player on that offense or that defense. The only real player you should be owning on Anaheim right now is John Gibson. Last but not least is Jeff Skinner, Buffalo Sabres, 16%, and I'm going to keep putting him on this list until he becomes lower than 10% owned. Because he's a fourth liner, not getting top power play time, there is no reason to own him at all. All right, so let's jump right into some defensemen that you can drop now. And first on the list is Mark Giordano. And I suggest, like I have in the last few weeks, that you try to trade Giordano. He's a brand name, and people might bite on a trade offer. This year, Giordano's not skating on that top power play for Calgary. Rasmus Anderson's looking great on that top power play, so the Flames really have no reason to put him back there. So he has very little value, especially in points leagues. In Cats leagues, he's okay, but you can probably trade him for something a little bit better. Next is Jacob Trouba, New York Rangers, 63% owned. And outside of bangers leagues where hits are counted, Trouba's stats are pretty lackluster this year. If you can find somebody else, somebody a little bit better on your waiver wire, I would take him. Trouba's also someone that you can try to trade because he's also a pretty brand name defenseman. So if you're able to get something a little bit better for him, go ahead and do so. Outside of bangers leagues, he's not very valuable. Next on this list, guys, are 3 Vancouver Canucks defensemen: Nate Schmidt, Tyler Myers, and Alexander Edler. If you're in the absolute deepest of leagues, you definitely can own these guys. But other than that, I don't really like these guys. Tyler Myers is useful if you need penalty minutes. Other than that, I know it looks like he has a lot of blocks, but for the past bunch of games, he's been getting only 1, maybe 2 blocks. He's not getting that many blocks. He's not that useful for the block shots category. Edler is useful if you're in a bangers league because he hits a decent amount, But honestly, none of these guys are going to produce that many points. Myers and Schmidt are on Vancouver's second power play, but Vancouver's second power play isn't very good. If there are better options on your waiver wire, I highly suggest you take those options rather than these three guys. Next is Ryan Graves, Colorado Avalanche, 31% owned, and he hasn't done a whole lot of anything yet this year. I know last year he was great with plus minus when he was playing with Cale Makar. This year he's not playing with Cale Makar, and his stats aren't looking that great. You can definitely drop Ryan Graves. There are probably a million better options on your waiver wire. Next is Justin Schultz, Washington Capitals, 30% owned, and I've had him on this list for a couple of weeks now. People picked him up a lot because when a bunch of the Capitals players were on the COVID list, Schultz actually had a spot on that top power play, and when he was there, he produced. Now that players are back, Schultz is not going to keep a spot on that top power play. There's no way. You can definitely drop Justin Schultz because he will not produce on Washington's second power play. Next is Kevin Shattenkirk, Anaheim Ducks, 24% owned. And like I said before with Raquel, almost nobody on the Ducks should really be owned outside of the very, very deepest of leagues because their offense is awful. The only player you should own on the Ducks, like I said before, is John Gibson. Next on the list, guys, is PK Subban, New Jersey Devils, 21% owned. And we don't know when New Jersey is going to end up playing a game. It should be next week sometime. But on top of Subban already being pushed down the depth chart by guys like Ty Smith, in all likelihood, New Jersey's also going to have Sami Vatanen coming back from the COVID IR next week, which should probably put Subban even further down the depth chart. I just really don't like Subban right now, and he's a pretty easy drop. Next is Eric Chernak, Tampa Bay Lightning, 20% owned. And it's a mystery to me why he's still 20% owned. He's not doing a whole lot of anything. He's not really hitting that much. He's not blocking that many shots. He's not shooting all that much either. And he's not on either power play, so he's not going to get many points. It's a total mystery to me why he's this owned. He's a very, very easy drop, in my opinion. Jumping into some goalies, guys. First on the list is UC Saros, Nashville Predators, 64% owned. And all the signs this year pointed to UC Saros being the number one goalie in Nashville this year. The last 3 games he's played, he's let in a combined 15 goals. He has not played well at all. Pekka Rinne played 2 games recently and looked great. If you have UC Saros, right now it looks like Pekka Rinne is kind of taking the crease back. So you could probably drop him for Pekka Rinne because it looks like Rinne is starting more and more games because Saros just is not performing. Next is Ilya Sorokin, New York Islanders, 22% owned, and I do believe he's going to be a great goalie, but this year just doesn't seem to be the year. He's not performing, and Varlamov just keeps performing. So Varlamov's going to get a whole bunch of starts still, and Sorokin's just not going to. Next on the list is Martin Jones, San Jose Sharks, 22% owned, and he's won his last 2 starts, although his save percentage was below 900 both times, and those starts were against Anaheim and LA. For some reason, they're starting him again tonight, the night I'm recording this. But honestly, he hasn't looked great this year, and Devin Dubnyk's looked a lot better. I think Dubnyk should get more starts than Jones going forward in San Jose. And last but not least, guys, it's Jonathan Quick, LA Kings, 15% owned, and he's just looked atrocious in nets for the LA Kings, whereas Cal Petersen, the other goalie, he's looked great. So if you are a Jonathan Quick owner, for whatever reason, you're in a really deep goalie pool, Cal Petersen is someone you should be picking up and probably dropping Jonathan Quick because it looks like Peterson's going to be getting the bulk of the starts, and he's been playing pretty good. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment, ask me a fantasy hockey-related question. I'll be happy to answer. Until next time, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.